Hello everybody and welcome back to Certified Collectibles. This is another episode of First Appearance of the Week. This is Wednesday, August 27th, 2025. We'll be giving all the first appearances in your comic shops today. Now this week we got a pretty good line for you guys. I think we have 2 first appearances, 5 honorable mentions, so 7 titles all to go through. There's definitely some books in there you guys should pick up for your collection. So let's go ahead and get started for the first appearance of the week ending August 27th, 2025. First up from Marvel Comics, Miles Morales Spider-Man number 37. This features the first full appearance of White Cat, a new champion, and the first full appearance of Inari, a thief. Now, like I always tell you guys with these Spider-Man titles, anytime they introduce a new character into the Spider-Man universe, it really doesn't matter the title series they're bringing the character into. These are books you should definitely pick up for your collection. You know, Spider-Man is the most popular and most heavily collected franchise for Marvel Comics, so anytime they introduce a new character into that universe, these are books you definitely want to own. And this book here actually has 2 first full appearances, so this is one you definitely don't want to miss out on. This is one we do think you should pick up for your collection. Go ahead and grab this one. And lastly, from IDW, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder number 1. This features the first appearance of Rhea, a rogue foot soldier. This also features the first appearance of an underworld boss that has gained mythic status. Forever changed by a mind-shattering ordeal, a broken and possibly unhinged Shredder must descend into New York's criminal underworld to stop a rogue disciple's infernal uprising. Now this here is another one we do think you guys should pick up for your collection. You know, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, this franchise, incredibly popular, huge fan base, huge collector base. You know, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is just as popular today as it was back in the 90s. Incredibly popular franchise, and whenever they introduce a new character into that universe, these are books you don't want to miss out on. And this issue here also has 2 first appearances, so another one that you should definitely pick up at a cover price. You know, you don't want to chase these down years later for a lot more money. If they bring any of these characters to screen, whether small screen or big screen, collectors are going to race back to the secondary market and try to find these first appearances. And like I said, this here issue does have 2 of them. So another one we definitely think you guys should pick up for your collection. Go ahead and grab this one. And now for the honorable mentions. From DC Comics, Immortal Legend Batman number 1. This here is a 6-issue limited series about a cosmic dark knight who hunts a rogues gallery of monsters. Now we put this on the list because a lot of these spin-off series for Batman lately have done incredibly well. You know, just look at the Absolute Batman series from DC Comics, hugely popular with fans and collectors, and this here is the premiere issue of this Immortal Legends series. We really don't know how well this here is going to be received by fans, but like I always tell you guys with these DC Comics, they are going to be more speculative than the Marvel Comics, because, you know, DC doesn't really have the cinematic power that Marvel Disney has to bring a lot of these characters to the screen, get a lot more fan interest in the characters. But you know, for the cover price, $2 or $3, in my opinion, these are worth specking on, especially these premiere issues, especially with the Batman franchise. You know, the Batman franchise for DC Comics is just like the Spider-Man franchise for Marvel Comics, probably the most heavily collected and popular franchise for that publisher. So this one here is going to be a little more speculative, but in my opinion, definitely worth a spec. Grab this here for a spec if you can. Next up from Darkhorse, Masterminds number 1. A video game programmer finds himself in a gauntlet of deadly puzzles after he applies to a secret society composed of masterminds who promise to help their members achieve their wildest dreams. Now, we put this on the list because this sounds like a great candidate for a small screen or big screen project, and you know, Dark Horse has a lot of their titles picked up an option in the past. And as I always mention to you guys, these books don't actually have to make it to the screen, just being option alone is enough to drive the price in the secondary market. This one here, in my opinion, is a great spec. I like to spec on these small press and indie publishers because a lot of people don't pick these up off the shelf, so there's not a lot of them out there. So when these do get optioned, they typically go very big. Like I said, not a lot of them out there. A lot of people don't collect these when they first come out. So great spec in my opinion. Grab this here for a spec if you can. Next up from Darkhorse, Nemesis Forever number 1. No longer content to just terrorize the forces of law and order, Nemesis' new plan is to seize control of the world itself and enslave humanity with super technology. Now this here is a sequel, or I guess continuation of the original Nemesis title series. I think the first issue came out back in 2009. This here is written by Mark Miller, so this is part of the Mark Miller universe. I don't know if you guys are familiar with any of the Miller Universe titles, but they are pretty well received with fans. There is a big fan base and collector base for Mark Miller. So anytime he releases a title, there is a fan base for that. Now, like I said, this here is a sequel series to the original title that was released back in 2009. Now, I don't really know how well a sequel released in 2025 is going to do to a story that came out in 2009. So this one here, definitely going to be speculative, but like I said, there is a big fan base and collector base for Mark Miller titles, and Mark Miller is still writing this series, so this may be worth picking up the spec spec on. Like I always tell you guys, oftentimes it's worth specking on these for a few bucks. You don't want to chase them down years later for a lot more money. If Nemesis actually comes to the screen, whether small screen or big screen, you really don't know where they're going to pull content from. If they pull it from this particular issue, collectors are definitely going to race back and try to find this particular book. So in my opinion, maybe worth specking on. Grab this here for a spec if you can. If you can't, put it in a B-list and take a look at it later on. Next up from Sumerian, Total Recall number 1. A man on a mission to protect his daughter while trying to search for answers about who he really is, while being hunted down by Cohagen Corp soldiers in the sequel to the hit 1990 movie Total Recall. Now we put this on the list because this here is a sequel to the original 1990s movie, and there's a huge fan base for that original movie, so if they actually do ever make a sequel film to Total Recall, they may pull content from this particular issue, and that's definitely going to send fans and collectors racing back to the secondary market to try to find this book. I don't think a lot of people are going to pick this up off the shelf. Probably not going to have a huge print run either. So it's definitely going to be undercollected and undersold when it comes out. So this one here, in my opinion, has great potential. You know, this is already based on an existing franchise. And like I said, if they actually do make a sequel to Total Recall, they may pull content from this book. This here has a lot going for it. Maybe worth a spec. In my opinion, this is a great spec. Grab this here for a spec if you can. If you can't, point your B-list, but definitely keep an eye on this one. And finally from Image Comics, Universal Monsters, The Invisible Man number 1. Witness Griffin's legendary descent into madness as his humanity fades away and the monster inside is revealed, leaving only the Invisible Man. Now we put this on the list because this Universal Monster series has been incredibly popular with fans and collectors, huge fan base and huge collector base for the series. And this here is Invisible Man number 1. This here is the premiere issue of Invisible Man into the Universal Monsters series. So in my opinion, this here is probably worth picking up. Like I said, Universal Monsters incredibly popular with fans and collectors. For $3 or $4, maybe worth owning this one. It's going to be speculative because you are specking on future interest in this particular title. But you know, if any of these stories hit the screen, it doesn't really matter which monster they bring to the screen. If any of the screenplays are based on these Universal Monsters comics, collectors are definitely going to race back to the secondary market to try to find all these premiere issues. So in my opinion, this is a great spec. Grab this here for a spec if you can. Can't, put in your B-list and take a look at it later on. So there you have the 7 titles we have for you guys this week. Definitely some books in there you guys should pick up for your collection. So please feel free to drop some comments in the comment section below. Thumbs up if you like this video. As always, please remember to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you for joining us here at Certified Collectibles, and we'll see you again next time.